You've tuned into InvisiYouth Chat Sessions, a video podcast series. Our episode starts right now. Here's your host, Dominique Vale.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the InvisiYouth Chat Sessions, where you can check in for your dose of stigma-breaking, humor-filling, motivation-loving life hacks and empowering tips for all of the medically adultish people in life. I'm Dominique Vale, founder of InvisiYouth Charity, and your host for InvisiYouth Chat Sessions. And today we are on Season 7, Episode 119. And today is a special episode for two reasons. The first being, it is our Season 7 finale episode. Don't get too sad. We are coming back for Season 8, starting in February of 2026. Get ready. But before then, our second reason I'm super excited is because we are film recording our Season 7 finale with a special guest that I've had the pleasure of interviewing before on episode 26 of InvisiYouth Chat Sessions, which was also our Season 2 finale. So she's now going to be a double finale closer of the podcast twice now, which no one else has had to do on the show, so I love it so much. We have the CEO and founder of Diversability, disability activist, and author Tiffany Yu on the show today. One of my most beloved disability activists that always champions for inclusivity and equity in the world. Tiffany is an incredible activist you guys will absolutely love throughout this episode and getting to learn so much more about her work that she does. With Diversability, Tiffany created an award-winning social enterprise that works really hard to rebrand disability through the power of community and its storytelling. And she uses her experiences living with brachial plexus palsy, which is a type of nerve damage in her right arm after a car accident, along with her diverse professional experiences that's really allowed Diversability and all of her work platforms to have such a direct lens on how to challenge exclusion that so many people in the chronic illness and disability community face. She was named one of the 100 most influential Asian Americans in 2017. She's also been the founder of Awesome Foundation's Disability Chapter, which gives micro grants to disability projects. She's been able to speak at TED Talks, featured in Marie Claire, Forbes, and the Wall Street Journal, and has used her incredible social media platform also to really reshape the perception of disability and the ways that inclusion can be possible. This year, Tiffany's also added two things to her resume: author of the successful book, The Anti-Ableist Manifesto, Smashing Stereotypes, Forging Change, and Building a Disability-Inclusive World. And she's also, if you're on social media, you'll see this too, she is training in paraclimb and has even qualified this past September in World Championships. And you know I'm going to be talking about that because I think that is so cool to be added onto the resume. So there's no one else I would rather finish up this season with than Tiffany. So Tiffany, welcome back on the podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me, and congrats on 7 seasons.
Thank you so much. Like I said, I was so thrilled that we would get to have you as a season finale closer for 2 times because it was one of my favorite episodes in our first couple seasons. So I'm so glad to have you back on again to close out season 7. So I know it'll be a good time for everybody listening and watching. And make sure we're just at the beginning. You guys have another probably 50 minutes getting to listen to Tiffany and I chat or watch us on our YouTube channel. So make sure you click that subscribe button. I'll remind you again later. Don't worry. And guys, we're going to get to know Tiffany better. We're doing our first segment. We're going rapid fire roundup.
Rapid fire round.
You know I love a good rapid fire game, and so we're going to have some fun with Tiffany, getting to know her even better, and ask some fun and kind of quirky questions. So Tiffany, are you ready for some questions?
I'm ready.
So if you had to describe yourself as the type of gift wrapper you are, how would you describe it?
Ooh, always has to be a box. That's the easiest to wrap.
I like that. I like that idea. What is the first thing you do in the morning and the last thing you do in the evening?
Ooh, unfortunately, both of the answers are looking at my phone.
It's okay. I like honesty. I like the answer. I like that. Speaking of the evening, are you someone who remembers your dreams or do you forget them when you wake up?
I will say somewhere in between. Like, I feel like my dreams are really vivid, but then if I don't write them down somewhere, right when I wake up, I'll forget them.
Yeah, I feel like I'm with you. I'm right in that middle part as well. Do you have a go-to snack that tends to be the one you'll always gravitate towards?
Welch's fruit snacks.
Oh my God, yes. They are good. I agree. I agree with that for sure. If you were at a party or a gathering, where would people most likely find you in the space?
I would probably be by the food or in the corner. This is like as a super introvert. Yeah.
Yeah. Ditto. I would be like, where's the food or the coffee? That's where I would be, for sure. Do you have a favorite childhood game or book or toy when you think of your childhood that kind of always pops into your mind?
Ooh. I did collect TY Beanie Babies.
Ooh, okay.
I guess the current version of that is the Labubus.
Maybe a little more cost effective than a Labubu, but
depends on when you got the Labubu, and if the Labubu will have the same fate as the Beanie Babies.
That is true. I was gonna say, once you brought that up, I remember the height of Beanie Babies. They went for a pretty penny. I do remember
they did. I even bought display boxes for them.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it.
And I loved the bears. I collected like all the bears, all the Beanie Baby bears.
Oh my God, I love that. Do you have a favorite type of photography or artwork? I know you just recently moved that is up in your house, or the type of artwork you like to put up.
Oh, well, it hasn't been put up yet, but I do have a like vintage Friends poster that is actually signed by the cast. And I want it. It's like it's my only piece of artwork that's been traveling with me as I have moved to different places in Los Angeles.
Oh my God, I love that. My sister is a diehard fan. I think she might shed some tears knowing that is in someone's possession. So I love that answer. When you started paraclimb, was there a first skill you learned that you were either shocked was something you had to learn to do, or that was something that you mastered easily in the beginning?
Ooh, I feel like a lot of paraclimbing is about the mindset. And I will say, I still remember pretty vividly the first time I ever attempted to get back onto the wall after I became disabled. And it was like January of 2016. And I can remember the number of times I said, I can't. Like, even when I was just in front of the wall and on the ground staring at it. And then once I started climbing, about halfway through, was still having a lot of that internalized like negative self-talk. So I think that was the thing I had to learn, because now when I climb, I just have so much awe that like in the best way possible that I'm able to do this. But I guess the lesson underlying all of this is that we figure out a way to make it work depending on, how our bodies work. And if it's something that brings us joy, can continue to do it.
Yeah, I love that answer. That's such a good answer. Do you have 3 words that you feel describes yourself as an author?
Oh, describes myself as an author? I guess one word is approachable. That's always what I wanted to kind of convey in my writing. Procrastinator. and community builder. That has been a really fun part about having the book out, is just seeing the local community at the different book stops come out to support.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Speaking of books, do you have a book in your collection of books that you go to the most, or that is a book you'll always reread?
Daring Greatly by Brene Brown.
Oh, I'll have to look at that. Do you have a theme song for your life, a song that you feel would be a good descriptor for you?
Generally, I would say anything by Sarah Bareilles. The song that comes to mind, though, she has one called Brave. But not only is she my favorite artist, but I just think she's so talented. And that song Brave is a good one.
I like that answer. And then last one, we have the 5 different senses of taste: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, umami. Do you have a favorite taste bud that you gravitate towards?
Salty. I'm not sure what those other words were. I only knew sweet, salty. What were the others?
Oh,
Umami?
sweet, salty, umami, sour, and bitter.
Ooh, I wonder who likes bitter.
I know. I was thinking that as well. I would have enjoyed that if you went, you know what I like? Bitter flavors. I love that. Oh my God. I feel like I got to know you even better with that. And it already gives me more questions later on when I'm going to talk about paraclimb with you. You already sparked my curiosity of having to ask more questions, but I know that'll come later. And something we can talk about now, though, before we go into our next segment, is something that I love, which is our InvisiYouth charity shop. You'll see me wearing some of our Subtle Activist color block bracelets that are exclusively on our Etsy page, our Subtle Activist sticker collection, which is above me, and they are two of the things that are in our shop that is exclusively on Etsy that our volunteers living with chronic illness and disability help run. It is our way of being able to give back through your donations. So 100% of every sale goes directly towards funding all of our free resources and programs we put out every single month. So basically, it's like making a donation and getting a gift of a bracelet or a sticker pack in return. So it is free global shipping, especially this month being November. We are going into December, which will be our donate match campaign. So it's extra special when you go to the shop in the month of December because any purchase will be directly matched with a donation to InvisiYouth Charity by one of our board members. So make sure that if you're going to InvisiYouth Charity shop buying our sticker pack or one of our Subtle Activist bracelets, you're knowing that you are making a donation. And in the month of December, it will be a double donation. So it's twice as special. So we have our Etsy link on the screen and in our description and show notes. If you or someone you know is able to pop by the shop and send some love that way, we thoroughly appreciate it. And now we're going into our next segment with Tiffany. We're going Chat Me Up.
Chat me up.
Hey, want to chat?
Chat Me Up is our time where we get to chat with our special guests about all of the updates in their careers and how they are thriving in their lives and owning their careers, and how, especially for Tiffany, so many different things have grown even more and evolved in her time since we've been having her on in season 2. So I know the first way we connected was through your work with Diversability, which now has passed 15 years as an organization. You've had over 160 events, memberships, collaborations, really amplifying disabled voices in such incredible ways. So is there something you think of from your early years with Diversability all the way to now that you feel you've enjoyed being a part of, that as it's grown the most, that you've enjoyed the most?
Yeah, I think there are two things that make me, or I guess I'll say there are three things that make me the most excited about this work. The first is being able to support our community members on their journey of unlearning internalized shame to becoming proud of who they are. I call these like the longtime lurkers. These are the people who join our community. Maybe they're newly diagnosed, or maybe they're newer on their own disability journey and their own disability pride journey. And as a function of being part of the community and how supportive everyone is with, you know, sharing things that they're working on or resources or just providing support, they will come out of the woodwork and start to share their story or start to explore, you know, what is the power of my voice and what are the things I want to advocate for. The second thing I've been really excited about is we've always been entirely disabled run and disabled led. That's always, you know, we always wanted to show that disability employment works. And so over the years, we've been able to write letters of recommendation or serve as referrals for our team alum who have gone on to win scholarships and internships or other full-time opportunities and their dream jobs. So being able to kind of be a catalyst, like a small role in that has been really fun. And then finally, I think you know, the definition that I use of community is a group of people who come together to support their own growth and each other's growth. And so, you know, if I look back over the past 15 years, it's been so cool to meet people who were earlier on in their advocacy journey to now publishing books or becoming published authors to becoming social media content creators, you know, just watching them all explode. And I feel so grateful to be among a group of people who are all moving and shaking in our own ways to try to make the world a little bit more inclusive.
Yeah, I would say the one word I always would think of when people would ask about diversability is I always said it was so communal in the way that there were so many people always interacting on social media or going to events or that engagement of different webinars or things you were doing. It was always this sort of foundation of getting people to kind of do work together, which I always really enjoyed. And to see that always grow and have more has always been so enjoyable because, like you said, it then just shows people feeling their way of gaining confidence personally, and then how that confidence then allows them to want to interact with other people in their direct community or just the wider net of chronic illness and disability, and just sort of spread out even wider. Or bring people in their own sort of the non-disabled communities they're also a part of and kind of show them what this means as well as they gain confidence is something I've always really enjoyed about that work, because it has, like you said, that pride of everyone that gets to be a part of it. And with you at the helm, is there's so much pride behind it that you can tell that kind of touches everyone who gets to do things with it.
Yeah. And I will say, I think when I first started this work, I didn't see myself as an advocate, but I saw myself as someone who just wanted to build and find community. And so it made me realize that sometimes, even if you don't think you have found your voice yet or know the power of your story, just being able to be part of a group of people who are in there cheering you on and rooting for you can really be a catalyst to, you know, so many of the incredible advocates and activists that you've been able to have on your podcast too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And even something else that I've really loved is through your social media, it obviously ties into the title of your book too, that you have had your anti-ableism series on social media. It's over 340 episodes of it. You've spoken to so many different people. How has maintaining that series personally brought you that confidence when it came to then going into writing your book, but then also how has it felt having such a larger audience always growing with you in the disability community and not getting to learn from yourself and the people that you're speaking to in the series?
It's interesting because that social media series started in December of 2020. So the first, I want to say maybe 150 parts of the series were all me, just all little, you know, bite-sized ways that I think we could share information with people about how to better show up for our community. And after a certain point in time, and this rings true with Diversability too. I've always wanted to find ways that we can use our platform to democratize visibility. You know, who gets access to the microphone, who gets the opportunity. And if I can lend my platform or this book or other ways that we can help amplify other people, I would love to be able to continue to do that. So I will say in full transparency, so the book came out, you know, as this episode comes out a little more than a year ago. And in the process of writing the book and marketing the book, there's so much more to publishing a book than just writing it. I haven't been as active with making video content as I used to. Like I can date back to probably from 2020 until maybe 2023. I was posting video content almost every single day. And in some ways, again, this comes back to community. I have learned that I don't need to have a hot take on everything. The news cycle is so overwhelming at times. And so being able to have the guests on creates a little bit of accountability too, that we can continue to keep the series going. And there are people who are really excited to be on the series, and I am super excited to get to amplify them. But it's also a way for me to be like, okay, if I need to take a break from creating content, I still have this backlog of content that I can push out. So yeah, I think about all of the different ways that people learn. Some people love, you know, and the inspiration for the Anti-Ableist Manifesto actually came from people who were watching parts of the Anti-Ableism series and figuring out if there were ways that they could go deeper, right? Some people would love a digestible 15-second TikTok or Instagram reel. There are other people who want to listen to an 8.5-hour audiobook or read a 250-page book, right? And so for me, it was really, if I want to continue to educate and make not only our experience as disabled people more accessible to other people so that they can take that knowledge on to be an ally in the spaces we don't have access to, how can I figure out different ways to reach new audiences? So for the people who are not on social media, you have a book. There actually is an online course companion available as well to the book if people want to learn through a self-paced video course. And there's also a piece of artwork of the Anti-Ableist Manifesto, which is what I'm holding up now if you're able to see the video, where every statement on this piece of Anti-Ableist Manifesto art actually corresponds with the chapter in the book. Or you can go off and do your own research as well.
I love that. I like that you said too, it allowed you to kind of take this overarching theme of the work you were doing and then tap into so many different mediums so that you could connect with so many people within the community and then extend that outward as well. So that whether it's short form content, long form, written, digital, that it was still that same message was going across, but then also then sort of mass producing it in ways that other people could then get it based on the way they like to absorb information, which then also just shows your intention of what accessibility looks like and how to diversify that accessibility for people of how they can absorb content and create it and how it can look different. And it made me even curious, kind of going back to with your book, with the Anti-Ableist Manifesto, has there been something that you felt from the book and having people's stories involved in it and your own research through it that you feel you've learned from the disability community that was different than all of your work previously once you were writing the book, that was giving you different perspectives going into the book writing process and that research?
Ooh, that's such a good question. I mean, interestingly enough, as someone who has a paralyzed arm, something we talk about within our brachial plexus injury community is how not to get, secondary disabilities or secondary injuries. So how do we not overuse our non-injured arm? And so I felt a lot of imposter syndrome around writing a book. A 15-second video, I can do. A 85,000 word book seems a little bit more intimidating and daunting, especially for someone like me who types with one hand. So this is actually where accessibility came in for the win. I actually wrote the entire first draft of the book using speech to text technology. I used a tool called otter.ai, which, I think is integrated. Some people have those like assistants join their video calls. And so that, and what was helpful with Otter was I could record, I used the free plan. So I think you get like 3 hours per month or something. So every chapter was about a 30-minute recording. And even if it was a very SFD, am I allowed to curse on here?
Sure.
So Brene Brown calls an SFD is like a shitty first draft. So even if it was an SFD, at least I had something to start with that I could then go in and edit. And one of the things you'll notice about how the book is written is that every chapter is about 7 to 8 pages. It's very digestible. There are 34 chapters. And the format of the chapters is very similar. So it may start with a story and some data, and then it'll have some tips and tricks or suggestions in an outline box if you have the print version or ebook version, and then it will close with some reflection questions that come in a shaded color box. So for learners, it could meet you at any point. But yeah, I think the first for me was really just confronting my own imposter syndrome about what it looked like to be an author, and then leaning into not only things I advocate for within the community. You were talking about how to make things more accessible in a variety of formats. Is the way we write can also come in a variety of formats too. So I think that was the biggest learning for me. But then also I think understanding, and if you peruse the book, you'll see that I am citing TikTok videos. I'm citing Instagram posts, X/Twitter posts, because I wanted this book to be written like in the same way that we as a community interact with each other. And the same way that we educate, where so many of us are educating through LinkedIn or TikTok or different social media platforms. So I just felt really excited that I could, not only do we feature a lot of the community who I reached out to directly to share their own stories, but also be able to pull from publicly available sources to be able to hopefully create, shed a little bit of color as to how diverse this disability community is.
Yeah, and I love how you said that too, that it really, because it is so wonderful we always talk about learning from other people, whether in the same illness or disability as yourself or other people and how they adapt to excel, but then to go into a process like this and it actually had you learning ways for yourself, like you said, tackling that imposter syndrome for yourself, learning ways to kind of adapt with writing for that long form for yourself. It wouldn't be unless you were open to these kind of challenging experiences that you would even learn new things about yourself, which I think some people they don't even think of. They're always going, oh, I'm doing advocacy work for the grander community, and they don't think of how that then will actually impact themselves positively for their own journey. So I like that even with the book that it had so much community basis and research basis in it, that it still was able to bring like learning moments and things for you as well, which I think is really impactful for people to kind of learn about you in that writing journey for yourself too.
Yeah.
And I really, yeah. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I just learned so much through the writing of the book too. I think that the most difficult chapter for me to write was one of the chapters on a brief history of the disability rights movement. And it's very US focused because that's where you and I live. And so I think that as someone who comes into this community mainly through lived experience and being kind of grassroots on the ground with our community, I like how would I encapsulate so many years of history, right? Yeah. And so that chapter I learned a lot too. And I think I even mentioned it in the chapter, like in the intro of the chapter. I'm like, hey, in the process of doing research for this, I even learned a lot too. If you want to dive deeper, there actually is a whole book on history of the disability rights movement that you can go and check out too.
Yeah, no, and I love how you mentioned that too, is because of even with your work with Diversability, so many people will tap into it even through social media that are from other countries. And like even with InvisiYouth, so much of our resources come from the other countries of young people that work with us, that we have such an overlapping experience that's so similar, but there are so many nuances. Like you said, our disability rights movement could look so different than what other countries' movements and progression forward has looked like. So it's learning from each other, or also taking, like you said, take other people from other countries could take away the pros and even cons of how that has gone for us in the past and present tense, and kind of apply different things they've learned from the way one community's done it for themselves differently. So I think, like you said, trying to tackle such a big topic like that, and then also being so open to learning about it again, even though it's something that's so kind of ingrained in how we learn about what that movement has meant for so many people too. So I think that's a really unique experience to kind of go into getting that research.
I think it was also understanding too that like this book isn't going to cover everything. And so my hope is, a couple of weeks ago, I posted a bookshelfie, which is like a selfie, but a bunch of books, who were all written by AAPI authors, Asian American and Pacific Islander authors. And so now I'm actually going into my bookshelf. Well, now since I just moved, it's piles of books on the floor. But I want to create a disabled authors one because, and so I've been pulling all the disabled authors into this new updated bookshelfie that I want to post, but just to highlight that I don't think one book can cover it all, right? And so my hope is that, you have a copy of the Anti-Ableist Manifesto, but you have all these other books written by disabled authors as well. And I feel so excited that at least when this book came out, and as we're recording this, there will have been more books that have come out by disabled authors. I feel like 10 years ago, I could probably count on my one hand how many books were traditionally published by disabled authors, and especially and then an even smaller number by disabled authors of color. And so I just feel really grateful. And I do believe that we are on the cusp of a cultural shift around disability, where I think there is interest in wanting to figure out how to show up better for the community. I mean, even the Anti-Ableism series in itself, and I haven't tracked it more recently, but back then it had 5 million views, maybe at 200 parts. So to even think now, as time has gone by, how much that series and this work has been resonating with people, again, I think is part of this elevating culture and part of this culture shift as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I really like that a lot. And I cannot wait until you have until you have bookshelves in general in your new home, but then also you can have those bookshelves and all of that as well. I think that'll be impactful for you and then other people to just actually see it tangibly of what that looks like for that group of authors. I think is really cool as well. And it makes it something else very cool because, guys, we're halfway through the show. Don't worry, we're getting to story time. We know it's everybody's favorite. Don't worry, we're getting there. But before we do, I always like to not only thank you guys for watching the InvisiYouth Chat Sessions, but also supporting our nonprofit InvisiYouth charity. This is our first digital resource that we created over 7 years ago. And now we have 5 digital resources that come out monthly that we provide for free for our community. And it's all because of incredible donors like yourselves that do pay it forward and help support our nonprofit so we can keep providing these free resources every month. And especially for this month, it's even so much more important that we're going into the month of December, and it is our annual Donate Match campaign, which is extra special this year as InvisiYouth has hit its 10-year anniversary this past summer. And because of that, we are attaching our Donate Match campaign with a fun giveaway for our 10th birthday. So all of the donations that come from December 1st until New Year's Eve will all be matched. So every donation is basically a double of whatever you're able to donate on our website, InvisiYouthCharity.com/donate. And also all of our, like I had mentioned earlier, if you buy anything of our bracelets or our Subtle Activist sticker collection, all of our purchases will be matched with a donation as well. And all of our donors of whatever amount you are able to donate will all automatically be entered to win our massive giveaway prize. And if you donate $10 or more based on celebrating our 10th birthday, you will get a double entry to win our big giveaway prize, which will be a collection of not only our merch, but also a collection of different businesses and authors that have come through InvisiYouth for so many years who have donated some of their merchandise, their books, and some extra special goodies that InvisiYouth will be adding so that you guys we can celebrate the incredible people who have created these wonderful businesses and written great novels through these years and got to be a part of InvisiYouth charity. So we are encouraging our donors not only for the Donate Match campaign so that your donations are doubled, but also if you are able to then donate $10 or more, you get a double entry to win our special giveaway. But all donors will get an entry to win as well. So any amount really does help us so much with our Donate Match campaign and our special giveaway this year. So I'm mentioning it now, from the beginning of December until New Year's Eve, if you are able to donate on our website or go buy anything from our shop, it definitely helps. The link is on the screen. So is everything. So it really does help us so much. And we are always so appreciative because 100% of every donation goes directly towards funding all of our free resources and programs for teens and young adults living with chronic illness and disability all around the world in the 12 countries that download our resources and utilize them. So it really does mean so much to myself after 10 years with InvisiYouth and everybody who has gotten to be a part of it and works with us behind the scenes. It really means so much to have your support. So if you're able to donate or share it with someone to them, pay it forward and have their support, it means so much. And we're looking forward to giving our giveaway package to one of our lucky InvisiYouth Galaxy community members and someone who is donating to support our nonprofit. So make sure you get on that as well. And now, guys, we're in our favorite segment. It's intermission time. It's So That One Time.
So that one time.
You guys know So That One Time is our time where our guests get to tell us a life story and I get to take a break and have a drink of coffee. So Tiffany, the mic is yours.
Is this where we just share any story?
You get the floor for any life story.
I guess I will share the story of attending the Paris Paralympics.
Ooh.
And I will say sometime in August of 2024, I was like, I think I want to go to the Paralympics. And I will share that part of why I moved to Los Angeles is the Olympics and the Paralympics are going to be coming here in 2028. And not only to be able to witness it coming back to the US, but to be here when it's happening, I think is not only going to be really exciting, but I also can't imagine a more global event, the Paralympics, that will play a role in terms of how people view the disability community. So that seed was planted, I want to say circa 2018, 2019. So I knew that eventually I would want to move to Los Angeles. That happened in 2022. I don't know how much detail you want for this story. So fast forward to August 2024. I'm living in Los Angeles. I see that I have a week right around Labor Day that is free, which is that is empty on my calendar. And I said, you know what? I think I'm going to try to go to Paris for the Paralympics. And I went online and I found there are a couple budget airlines that go straight from Los Angeles to Paris. So I booked one of those, and I think I posted something on social media, and I had a friend who was cat sitting in Paris at the time. And she said, oh, you can stay with me, crash on the sofa or something if you need to. So I was like, okay, I have the flight and a place to stay. The flight, again, keep in mind, it's a budget airline. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to bring a backpack, like whatever you can fit under the seat. I forget how long the flight would have been, but it was like no meals, or you had to pay extra, all the bells and whistles that the budget airlines offer. And then maybe a week before the trip, I got an email from YouTube announcing that they had done a partnership with the International Paralympic Committee to stream more of the Paralympics through YouTube to make it more accessible. Because one of the big things about previously the Olympics and the Paralympics was that it was really hard, depending on where you lived, to find much of the Paralympic Games streamed. So now there's this great partnership with YouTube. And they were like, we're inviting some YouTube creators to come to Paris. We'll fly you and a friend on business class. And you'll have a place, you'll stay at this hotel, and we'll give you tickets to not only the opening ceremonies, but a handful of different games. So I hadn't bought any of the tickets to the games or anything. I think I was waiting until closer to the date to buy like secondhand ones or see if they would be lower price. So now all of a sudden I could bring a friend, and now I could bring a checked luggage. Now I could bring luggage.
I get food.
I get food on the flight. And I will say that not only was attending the Paralympics in Paris, it was just so electric, the energy there, but it was a really cool opportunity to get to connect with other disability advocates. So I met Kara Yarkhan for the first time in person. I don't know if you know her.
Oh, wow.
I met Sinead Burke for the first time in person. A very brief meeting because there was just so much going on. But it also reminded me that I had made some Paralympian friends who offered to host me and my friend at the Team USA house. So a lot of the teams will, if the teams are big enough, will have their own houses. And I had two Paralympian friends that I had connected with, I want to say again, 2018, 2019 timeframe, who were on the Austrian team and the Norwegian team. And my friend who was on the Norwegian team, her name is Birgitte. She ended up winning gold in rowing, winning silver. Sorry. We just winning a medal. And I got to celebrate with her and her family. And it was so intimate. It was like just hosted at a restaurant. And then my friend who was on the Austrian team, his name's Andreas, and he actually came onto the Anti-Ableism series. I had a couple of parts of the series that were filmed in Paris. And he invited me and my friend to join the Team Austria/Germany house for some celebration that they were having. And I didn't realize this at the time. I should have known living in Los Angeles, but it takes forever to get anywhere. And then you add that the Paralympics are happening, so it takes even longer to get around in Paris. But he waited there, I think, an hour later than he was planning on, with his wife and his kid and his parents, just for me and my friend to come meet him and, grab a drink together. So not only did I love being able to go to the games, but it was just a beautiful moment of community as well, where I feel like I got a couple of these like little VIP experiences because I've managed to become friends, even just online friends with different people in our community who now are competing on the Paralympic level.
I love that. I love this so much. It is, like you said, it's been wonderful the last few Paralympic Games to see that progression of getting it more into mainstream media and seeing that equal advertising. And like you said, the LA Games seems to have made it very intentional that they want it to feel like a equal set of game opportunity and marketing for it. So that, like you said, is exciting for you to be there when Paris had set such an intention for it. And then for it to be on your home turf. You'll be a little bit of a veteran now getting to experience it on the other side as well. So I love that. That is so interesting. And it's a perfect segue into our next segment, guys, that I'm going to be talking about some parasport because you all know I'm obsessed with it. We're talking first few words.
First few words.
First few words, we're going to take a new spin on an OG segment because I want to talk to Tiffany about a new addition into her work life. And that is talking about all of the paraclimbing journeys and her advice and perspectives getting to reach those goals. And like I said, something I have loved getting to see is you posting on your social media about adding this whole skill set and expanding on it and really kind of taking it by the reins and really running with paraclimb. And what kind of was that initial spark of interest for you in doing that? And then also now doing it at, like you said, you're going to competitions, you're qualifying for all of these different competitions and tournaments. So what kind of was that initial spark and then now wanting to kind of take it to that different level?
It was the Paris Paralympics. I mean, a beautiful segue to the last story. But I guess one thing I'll share is I have vivid memories of being a pre-disabled kid. So Tiffany before 9 years old, going to birthday parties at rock climbing gyms. And I feel like, I don't know if you have any of those memories.
Yes.
But there was just so much joy, I think. And I want to say since 2019, I've been on a journey of exploring things that 9-year-old Tiffany loved doing and re-exploring them, rediscovering them in this new body. So I relearned how to ride a bike. I did a 20-mile bike ride last year. I did a triathlon last year. I don't think 9-year-old Tiffany would have done a triathlon, but it was also like my dad loved biking too. And he had passed away in the accident that had made me disabled. So there's just a lot of, I don't know, whether it's catharsis or healing or just finding the play, fun, and joy in these new activities in the body that I'm in now. So while I was in Paris, I would call myself an Angel City sports athlete. So there's a nonprofit here called Angel City Sports. It's co-founded by 2-time Paralympic gold medalist Ezra Freck and his dad. And so while I was there, and Paris is where Ezra had won these 2 gold medals.
Say, yeah.
So his team, his fan team, there were always like things happening. Ezra couldn't come because he was in competition mode, but for us to just gather in community while we were all in Paris. And so while I was there, I remember turning to someone who worked at Angel City Sports. And I said to her, hey, does Angel City Sports offer paraclimbing? And she goes, no, they don't. But here is an organization that does have some paraclimbing chapters. So it was just, it wasn't a serious thing. I guess I want to start out by saying, but I remember emailing myself the name of the organization. And then my book came out in October. So I was on the road, not really focused on paraclimbing. And then come December of 2024, I made a new friend who is really into paraclimbing. His name is Wayne, and he had actually sent me all of the adaptive climbing clinics that happen in Los Angeles. So I found the one that was closest to me, and I went onto their social media, but I saw that they hadn't posted anything about adaptive climbing. And so I went back to Wayne. I said, and I had sent the the climbing gym like a DM and an email. The email bounced, didn't hear anything back from the DM. And I just noticed myself coming up with all these excuses for why I wasn't going to go paraclimbing. I was like, oh, never heard from them. And then Wayne comes back to me and he goes, I called the gym. They're still doing their adaptive climbing clinic. And I was like, okay, the accountability's there. So I show up in December and then, I go back home to the East Coast for the holidays. And come January, I get a note from Wayne and he sends me a link to the USA Paraclimbing National Championships. And they're happening at the end of February. Now, keep in mind, I have not been climbing. I've not been climbing. So I kind of make an offhand remark and I say, oh, I guess I have 2 months to train. And this year in 2025, the national championships were in Oakland. And living in Los Angeles, it's a 45-minute flight to go to San Francisco. And San Francisco is also where I used to live. So I have like friends there that I could stay with. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to show up. And I ended up tying for last. Which is understandable, and I'm okay with it. So I tied for last, and I start getting emails a little, like maybe a month later. And all the emails are like, welcome to Team USA, paraclimbing. And I go, oh, am I supposed to be getting these emails? I tied for last. And according to the Team USA paraclimbing charter, the top 10 athletes in each category, the top 5 kind of like make it onto like the tier 1 team. And then the rest were known as like the development team, like the tier 2. But if it just so happens that members of the tier 1 team aren't able to make it to a competition, they'll kind of go into like waitlist style. So there were 4 international competitions this year. One was in Salt Lake City. I did not make the cutoff for that. The second one was in Innsbruck, Austria. And then the next is the World Championships in Seoul, South Korea. And then there's a final one in Laval, France. One thing I don't think people realize is that even at this competitive level, the majority of us are self-funding. So you have to take time off work. You have to pay your own way. At least for Seoul, the competition is like September 20th to 25th. So like, not only is it the flight halfway across the world, it's a hotel or a hostel, or maybe you're sharing. So it turns out that a lot of the athletes on Team USA, maybe they pick one international competition to go to per year. And so I told myself, it feels like such a fluke that I made it onto the team. If I get an opportunity to go climb, I'm going to show up. And I feel like so much of the lesson from this story is just about showing up. But I think also for me, my why behind climbing is really all about fun. The competition part of it feels like extra credit. I mean, we will see what the journey looks like over the next couple of years. Technically, I am an LA28 Paralympic hopeful. And paraclimbing is getting introduced on the Paralympic level for the first time in LA28. So it feels so surreal to me to kind of be on this journey, because I think back to moving to LA to just want to be involved in LA28. And now here I am as an athlete.
This feels serendipitous, Tiffany.
Yeah. So a lot of full circle moments, but yeah, there's just something about climbing that feels really fun. And again, I come back to those themes of like awe and wonder. And I think about the ways that as we age, we lose some of that spark that we had as a kid, just the curiosity we had with the world. And so in a lot of ways, and I will say maybe even writing the book did this too, is like literally something that I didn't think I could do. You just, at least in the climbing context, take it one, rock or one hold at a time. And all of a sudden you're at the top, or you made it as far as you could. So yeah, I think I'm just enjoying the journey right now.
No, I really enjoyed you explaining that, because it kind of tied into the last thing I wanted to ask you about it as well. Because even like you had mentioned that climbing was something like you enjoyed pre-accident, pre-disability. and then getting to, like you said, find that joy of it again and find that fun of it again, even on a competitive scale, it still has that fun element for you.
And I remember you were a competitive athlete too, right?
Yeah, my injury came from being a competitive tennis player for my childhood into my teens, and I got injured in training. So, and I haven't actually ever gone back to tennis. So, because of that, I took so long to even want to watch it because it was so painful emotionally to watch the sport. That was a big identifier for me. And it took so long. And the first time I actually watched tennis in a full match was wheelchair tennis. So ironically, so that's where the kind of love affair of adaptive sports kind of came in for me, because it was the first way I felt emotionally comfortable to watch tennis again. And now I've been able to go to the US Open and watch again and enjoy the spectator side of things. But it reminded me of wanting to ask you too, because you had kind of touched on it at different points when we were talking about paraclimb, that so many people in the, especially young adults in the chronic illness and disability space, they want to either try a sport or try something new, but there's that nervousness or even slight fear of not wanting to, like you said, injure yourself further or make things harder for yourself. So we're always kind of sort of subconsciously conditioned to not go out of the box that we know works for our health or our disability. So what would be kind of your advice from you going into sort of the paraclimb journey for yourself that has worked for you to kind of find that courage to try new things, being obviously safe for your disability needs, but for other people that feel that they're kind of facing that fear or nervousness wanting to do it?
Yeah, I will caveat that saying, if you do go rock climbing, you do have to sign a waiver. It is true. And, if you are someone who boulders, which means that you're climbing with no ropes or anything, the first thing they do is teach you how to fall, which can be a scary thing as well. So I just want to caveat that I am in a sport where they do require you to acknowledge that injury may happen. But I think for me, if I just think more broadly about kind of the adaptive sports movement in general, I think the biggest thing, again, and this may be a full circle on this episode, is just coming back to community. So I don't know if I would have showed up at a rock climbing gym as an adaptive athlete had there not been an adaptive climbing clinic available. I do notice, when I did the 20-mile bike ride last year, when I did the triathlon, I was part of the Angel City Sports team. And Angel City Sports is this adaptive sports organization here in LA. And a lot of places, depending on where you live, do have a group like that. And in the training for the triathlon, there was one other disabled athlete who was like, oh, I signed up for this 20-mile bike ride. So it was like, okay, I'm riding my bike differently. He's riding his bike differently. Shout out to TJ because he was so supportive. Because I had so much doubt, probably a lot of the things your listeners think about when they're wanting to explore trying a new sport. But being able to find like that buddy, because I remember asking him, the biggest thing that I was nervous about with the triathlon was, how am I going to swim? And he was like, oh, I'm going to bring a noodle, which is like the long tubey floaty thing. And I said, oh, if he's going to bring that, maybe I can bring like a board. And I had tried to reach out asking, hey, for adaptive athletes is this, but he was like, I'm just going to bring it. They can tell me I can't use it or whatever when the time comes. But to be able to have someone to be able to ask those questions to.
Yeah.
And then I loved being able, and the last thing I think about is just being able to try. Being able to be given the spaciousness, like we know our own bodies best. Yep. But the spaciousness to just be like, and I notice I do this whenever, I do go to some classes, like I'll go to I went to a hot yoga class and it wasn't an adaptive one. But I have now gained enough confidence for me to just go and tell the instructor, like, hey, arm is paralyzed. I'm going to be adapting the moves in my own way because I have tried out yoga before. Or I went to a spin class and I told the instructor the same thing. So part of it is just gaining a little bit of confidence around your own self-advocacy. But if you don't yet feel confident to be there just yet, find an adaptive sports community on whatever you are looking to learn. And outside of, if there's anyone listening who wants to try paraclimbing, outside of now it's changing a little bit where they're offering a lot more local competition so that the first time you ever try climbing on a competitive level is not the national championships like it was for me. So
no, I like that you said that too. Like it was the element of knowing your body the best, because we're always so told, even in physician appointments, that you're the best advocate for your health, you're the one living in your body. And so that does translate into you trying a sport, trying a new hobby, because you're the one that can sort of find where in those new environments, where those kind of buffers or your limits are, because you know that so well. But having that confidence to just tell the person who is sort of the authority figure in charge, hey, could you maybe look out for me on different points? If I wave to you, it's because of this with my health or a disability, is more, like you said, it's more of a self-advocacy and not you kind of trying to shine a light on yourself doing something differently or adapting. It's just kind of giving yourself that safety net, which I think some people worry about, well, what would it be, that safety net for myself if I am? But the community part, I thought, like you said, is really important, because people they worry about, well, how am I going to find someone to go with for the first time? But even if you had, like you said, you had someone you knew who did climbing, and so there was that, even that kind of indirect connection to it as well for you, that if you were so nervous and didn't even want to step into a gym alone for the first time, you would have people that would go, oh, I'll do it, like even just with you, or I'll just come. So you have that sort of safety net of somebody being there that knows you and knows how you move and interact. I think is so helpful, that as you're building the network of people in the new hobby or community, that you have people with you kind of in those early stages, so it doesn't feel equally as scary to like do something new totally for the first time with your chronic illness or disability, going, I need to now manage my own nerves, plus other people feeling nervous on my behalf because they also might not have experienced it in their coaching experiences. So you're trying to juggle so many things. So I think, like you said, the community part is probably what people don't think of as the easiest way to lower your nerves, but it's probably the fastest way to do that in new environments.
And this is only within the last couple of years. I recently discovered a Facebook group for people who specifically have my injury, who have brachial plexus injuries. And the nonprofit that is the organizer of this Facebook group actually organizes a camp every other year for kids who have the injury, adults, our families, and medical professionals who support us. And I've gone twice. And also keep in mind, I've had my injury for almost 30 years. So even the fact that within the last 5 years, I started going to this camp shows that, like, even if you have had your injury for a long time, maybe finding community in that space may be a little bit delayed. But the reason why I wanted to bring up the camp is, at least for the ones that I've been to, they've been hosted at a local YMCA where they have a bunch of activities. So there is a rock climbing wall. There's archery. What else did I try? I think I tried axe throwing. And what I loved about it is, again, you're among community. So I was among community of people who all have arms, one arm that works differently or doesn't work at certain points in time. And we all, some people describe it as like us looking goofy. I'm hoping we can like figure out some way to alter that way we describe it, but we're all doing it in a way that looks different from how other people do it. And I will share that I had this one experience where, so the last couple of years they've had the rock climbing wall. So I will say outside of climbing more regularly this year for training, probably over the last 9 years, I've probably gotten to rock climb like 4 times. 4 times over 9 years. So that's like not that much, but at least it was like planting that seed over the years to be like, okay, you get to try this. And everyone else who's trying it has a brachial plexus injury. So you can look at maybe how they're doing it to see maybe if you can learn anything from them. But I had this one experience, and it was actually really powerful, where I'm feeling more empowered in my body as someone with a paralyzed arm. And I was at the camp, and I had a friend, Melissa, who, when I went to join her, she was taking her harness off. And I said, oh, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I had wanted to try zip line, but you have to like climb up this pole to get to the zip line platform. And then she was like, I can't do it with my with my paralyzed arm. She has a little bit more functionality than I do. So I said, you know what? You're going to do it and I'm going to be here to cheer you on. Or you can wait for me to see how I do it with one arm, because I'm not able to kind of use my other arm fully, so that you can see how it's done. And she cried, maybe like tears of joy. Probably there was some pain in there. But she made it to the top and she got to zip line. And it made me think about, again, we know our bodies best, right? But I do wonder if sometimes maybe we need either someone else who looks like us or has a similar injury pave the way. You know, we talk a lot about the FODs, like the first only difference. It's a very lonely place for us, but hopefully we're not an FOD for too long. That was coined by Shonda Rhimes, to just nudge a little bit further. Because if I think back to 2016, not even wanting to get on a wall in the first place, I would not be having this conversation with you right now about preparing for the World Championships.
Yeah. No, I love that. And it does, like you said, it really is a good note to end the episode on, of the value of all forms of community and finding them in different places, whether it's directly with your illness or disability or your wider network, or even just people that are participating in different activities you would want to be involved in. That community can play such a good role. So I love that you ended the question on that and ended the episode on that. And I'm so excited that I got to have you on and end this season with you. And I want to make sure people can find you and on your social media platforms, and also your book as well. So let people know where they can find you and where they can get your book as well.
Yes. So again, the book is called The Anti-Ableist Manifesto. I'm holding up a hardcover copy of it right now that has this orange gradient cover. And the best place to go is just tiffanyyu.com. It's just my first and last name.com. And you'll see all of my social links on there. Also, if you want to join our Diversability community, you might see links over there. And then there's a page on the book as well. If you want to get it at your favorite retailer, you can get it in print, audio, and ebook.
I love that. And we're going to have Tiffany's website and Diversabilities as well in the description and show notes, so you can connect with her and Diversability and get the book as well. And as always, you can find InvisiYouth on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter X at InvisiYouth. And our audio podcast is on Apple Podcasts and Spotify at InvisiYouth Chat Sessions. So you can click that subscribe if you can, give it, give that 5 stars, give it a thumbs up, write a review. All of that helps us so much. And like we always said too, all of your support for us in 7 seasons of the show, hitting our triple digits of episodes this season, all of that is because of the incredible community that we have at InvisiYouth and all of you that listen and watch the podcast so much. So from everyone at InvisiYouth, thank you so much for getting to be a part of it. Thank you for being a part of season 7, Tiffany, so much. And I will speak with all of you for season 8 very soon. Bye, everybody.